Welcome to your introduction to the aerial arts. Most of you probably know me from my work in my yoga hammock or my trapeze, but I thought it'd be fun to sit with you and talk to you a little bit about just aerial arts and the different types of apparatuses you might see out there. So we're going to be covering our hammock, of course, sling, silks, lyra, and pole. Now these aren't the only apparatuses you might see, but they're the most popular. If you're lucky enough to have a circus school near you, which I have one about a half hour away, there are things like Chinese pole, straps, rope, and a trapeze, a literal trapeze, not like the trapeze video that I do on my channel. And a quick disclaimer I have to put out there, anytime you get involved in anything in the aerial arts, be prepared to experience a little bit of pain. It does go away, your body becomes desensitized, but chances are it'll hurt a little in the beginning. Like I said, the pain does subside the longer you practice, and I think it's worth it. Let's talk about the most obvious, because it's what I'm sitting in, and it's probably what you know me best for, which is aerial yoga. When I think of aerial yoga, this is a means of me giving a full-rounded, deeper experience of my practice. Think about a traditional yoga class. We're always pushing, right? I'm holding my body weight up, I'm pushing the ground away in a plank pose, chaturanga, downward facing dog, but at no point in my practice am I ever pulling, right? So when I'm in my fabric, lots of times I need to hold or pull my body weight up, which is a nice way to balance out some of the stuff that's going on in our upper body. I can usually deepen my poses by using gravity or my own body weight in the fabric to help me go a little bit deeper and also tap my core a lot more when I'm in the fabric. Also, of course, something it's best known for is traction. So finding more spaciousness in our bodies by just surrendering to gravity and learning how to use the fabric to help us lengthen, especially in our spine. Many of us don't have an aerial yoga class nearby. So it's one of the reasons why I work so hard to deliver what would be more of a class-like experience in my work with you on YouTube. Also, it can get quite expensive. So I'm hoping you can at least find benefit on the channel here with me in your hammock or your trapeze. Now we also have yoga trapeze, which you can find on the channel as well. Sometimes called yoga body, that's a popular brand of yoga trapeze. It's not that I like one better than the other, hammock versus trapeze. They offer different things. I think in the trapeze, I can get some poses that I can't do in the hammock and vice versa. I think I get a little bit more of an upper body workout or upper body opening in my trapeze than I do in my hammock. If you're one who's really interested in the aerial arts and wants more of the ability to choreograph things, perhaps in a routine, I would definitely go with a yoga hammock over a trapeze. If you're new to either of those, check out the channel. We have playlists for each of them and you can sort of sample and pick which one works best for you. So let's talk about a sling next, because it's very similar to our yoga hammock. So I have a 2-point rigging system above me, as where a sling is a single point, right? I think of it more like a teardrop than a hammock or a horseshoe. You may go to a yoga class or an aerial yoga class and find that they have a single point rigging system. Many of the poses that I do with you, almost all of the poses I do with you, you could probably do on your single point if that's what you have at home. One benefit of having a single point is you can put it on a swivel, which means you can spin your hammock, which makes creating choreography and shapes in the air even more beautiful. So let's talk about silks, and we'll cover all our fabrics first. It's also a single point rigging system, which is usually on a swivel, so we can spin it. And it's a single point with 2 open ends. So it's actually one long panel, right? Divided in half. And here we can climb the fabric and learn how to intertwine ourselves with the fabric and make beautiful shapes and, yes, choreography in a full routine. So I worked in silks for about 1.5 years, and as much as I love making shapes in the air, and it was exhilarating for me to actually figure out how to climb, because it did take me about a month or 2 to get up into a climb, I couldn't practice it as much as I wanted to because I had to be in the studio with a big crash mat underneath me. I also wouldn't feel comfortable doing silks outside of a studio where I had supervision. It's very likely that you can get into a position where you're actually stuck in the fabric and There were times when I couldn't figure out how to get out unless someone walked me out of it. I know it sounds crazy, but you can actually wind yourself up into so many different positions that you're actually stuck in your fabric in the middle of the air. So I would have nightmares about being stuck in my fabric. With silks in general, I felt like I wasn't able to get as much of the dance choreography out of it. I was more concerned about falling out of my fabric than becoming more expressive and working on my shapes. And that's just my personal experience. Now let's talk about Lyra. So beautiful. And just by watching, I would almost be able to guarantee you that that would be my apparatus of choice. Unfortunately for me, it turned out not so much. So it also is on a swivel, so you can get a lot of spin and rotation with it. For me, I just couldn't get over the pain that I had experienced in my hands in terms of grip strength, and it would also just do a lot of wear and tear, creating a lot of calluses on my hands. As where some of the other ones, they were painful, I just didn't think they were as painful in my opinion, and that's just my opinion. This video was quite some time ago, but here I am doing a little doubles routine in class. Like I said, I absolutely love Lyra. I think it's so beautiful, but I kept gravitating more towards pole, so let's talk about it. It was actually my introduction to aerial arts. I had a Groupon, and on my 37th birthday, I took a pole dance class and told no one. But I left the class feeling extremely humbled and very sore and intrigued. I couldn't wait to go back. So for someone who thought they were in good shape, I taught yoga, I exercised every day. I had no idea how much upper body strength I was really lacking until I realized I couldn't do almost anything that they wanted me to do in class. And then sprung this obsession in me in aerial arts of all different kinds. There are different elements of pole. So there's a static pole where we are focusing on creating momentum around the pole. And there's also spin pole, which actually spins, and then we are kind of holding on with centrifugal force and making beautiful shapes. We can also do work at the base of the pole, and we can also climb up the pole and work on tricks or descend down, which is another reason why I think I like it so much. There's so many different elements of pole to work on, right? I'm never bored. It keeps me humble. There are poses I've been working on for as long as 4 years and still can't do them, or maybe will ever be able to do them. There are competitions in probably all of these different apparatuses, but I think pole is probably the most popular. This will be my 4th pole routine that I'm working on this year for competition. And it brings a sense of community where I work every Sunday with the girls at the studio, creating our routines and laughing and messing up and perfecting our craft. It's also important for me, especially like as a yoga teacher, to break the stigma of pole dancing in general. And people wonder why you wear such small amount of clothing, but the truth is you need tack. You need your skin to stick to the pole. And I don't see it any different than a gymnast or a swimmer wearing a bathing suit. So I very quickly got over that, and I see it as just a beautiful art form if that's what you want it to be. With pole dance, I also practice at home, which I really like. I can practice every night if I wanted to. If you didn't want to put one that was pressurized, so there's not nails in my ceiling, but it is pressurized from the inside, you can also buy a stage pole for a couple $100, but that would just be a round disc, and then you would just have the pole in the middle, and you don't have to worry about your ceilings if you're renting or a landlord or anything like that. So these are the most common apparatuses you'll find in the aerial arts. If you have a studio nearby, chances are this is what they offer. I'd love to hear if you've tried any of them, or if you have a favorite. You certainly know mine, this. And of course, pole dance. If I was any better at it, I would start another channel, but I figured leave it to the professionals because I'm just a little baby level 2 poler, but I'm proud of my level 2. And I'll continue to pole for as long as my body will let me. I know someone who poles with me who is 60 years old, so I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. So there you have it. Make sure you check out what aerial yoga and aerial trapeze looks like if you're new to this channel. Hopefully I'll get to train with you there, and I'd love to hear from you and which one is your absolute favorite. Until next time, and namaste.